proteins, lipids, carbs, and nucleic acids. The four major biomolecules lived in peace amongst all living organisms. But then this random showed up.
Ring-a-ding-ding!
And now he's going to teach you about the building blocks of all cellular processes. Let's begin. Food. What is food? You might be thinking about a nice cheeseburger or snacks here and there, and you'd be correct. Food is any substance consumed by living organisms to sustain growth and development. Notice I said living organisms, and well, trees are living organisms, but I bet you won't ever catch a tree trying to chow down on a burger. So if they can't eat, how do they get their energy then? Well, you've probably heard of the term photosynthesis, which is a process where plants take in sunlight, carbon dioxide, and water, and metabolize them, turning them into food, aka glucose, and the byproduct of oxygen. And speaking of energy, the terms carbohydrates and saccharides can be used interchangeably, but the word saccharide is derived from the Greek word sakcharon, which means sugar. Now, not all carbohydrates are edible, but many of the foods we eat do have carbohydrates in them. The prefix carbo means carbon and hydrate means water. Carbohydrates are literally composed of carbon and water molecules in a 1:1 ratio. A great example of this is the glucose molecule, which you can find in many things including your bloodstream. We refer to these glucose molecules as monomers, and this is because they are building blocks for larger and more complex molecules called polymers. This is a glycogen molecule, and it is a polymer because it is made up of multiple glucose molecules. These carbs do have their own special names though. We refer to glucose molecules as monosaccharides, meaning single sugar, and glycogen molecules as polysaccharides, meaning many sugars. Now you might be asking, what role do saccharides play in biology? Well, carbohydrates are often associated with a source of energy. Biological cells can convert glucose into energy very quickly, which is why carbs are sometimes known as quick energy. Glycogen is a store of energy in your liver and your muscles, and it can be broken down into glucose molecules. Going back to what I said earlier about trees, carbohydrates can also play a structural role in plants when we're talking about the molecule cellulose. These are part of a biomolecule group called macromolecules or large molecules. But wait, there's more. When I think of lipids, the first thing that comes to mind is fats. Now these fats generally don't dissolve in water. Yeah, I know, the other biomolecules do dissolve in water, but the reason lipids don't is because of their components. Lipids are made of fatty acid tails that are hydrophobic, meaning they repel water, and glycerol heads that are hydrophilic, meaning they love water. This also supports the fact that water is a polar molecule that tends to dissolve other polar molecules, polar meaning it has a partial full charge on one end of the molecule as opposed to the other. And if you take a closer look at one of these lipid molecules, specifically the fatty acid side, you will notice that it is composed of these long hydrocarbon chains. And they have no polar properties, therefore making them non-soluble in water. This is especially important when we're talking about cells, specifically their membranes, and how lipids make up something called the phospholipid bilayer. Its fluid mosaic structure makes it semi-permeable, meaning only certain molecules can be allowed in and out of the cell. There are many types of lipids: phospholipids, triglycerides, and even steroids like cholesterol. Lipids are generally found in fats and oils such as butter and olive oil. Now, unless you've been living under a rock, you've probably heard the term saturated fat, typically listed on the nutrition facts label on the back of food products. And this is really just referring to the hydrocarbons I talked about earlier. When a lipid becomes saturated, that basically just means that the carbon molecules are bonded to as many hydrogen molecules as possible, therefore making it saturated with hydrogen. And unsaturated means there's room for more carbon-hydrogen bonds. And that's why unsaturated fats are considered healthier.